Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Everyone, my name is Dr. Richa Gupta and this is lecture 3 week 1 for digital accessibility course. So just a quick recap of the topics that we discussed in the previous lecture. We learnt about some commonly used terminologies, the jargons around accessibility, digital usability, user experience design, etc. And we understood key differences and definitions amongst those jargons. Most of the common topics that we discussed revolved around design thinking, user experience, usability, accessibility, inclusive design, universal design, etc. You can refer to the previous video if you want to know more about these topics. Moving to understand why accessibility matters and what is the need of using accessibility in any design at all. So the first and foremost aspect is that it is a huge untapped market. So the positive uptick of studying a course like this or even designing products which are accessible to a wider range of audience is that you will be creating products which people love. Not only because it is accessible to people who are disabled or who are earlier were not able to access those products, but also because accessibility also creates better user experiences. And there are several examples of that, which we will also discuss in detail as we'll move on in the course. So for example, the autocorrect feature, whenever you type on your phone, you don't know, not sure about any spelling, for example, you just start writing it and the algorithm starts showing you few options and you can choose from it. You don't probably need to know all the spellings in English, and probably it's not needed also because English is not our first language. So it makes our lives easier. But did you know that something like an autocorrect algorithm was initially designed by a coder or a computer science engineer for his brother who was an amputee? It was a feature because he couldn't use his both hands to type. So the idea was to start building an algorithm which can auto-complete the words. So he would start typing and it would auto-complete. With the age of AI and increased intelligent algorithms around us, the autocomplete has now also evolved into autocorrect, and it has made our lives easier. Similarly, there might be many other examples which we will surely discuss in the due course of this course. So there are over 1 billion people living with disabilities, and your design decisions will either open or close the doors to those millions of people. So tapping into this massive, untapped, underserved market and building your reputation as an inclusive, impactful designer is something that this course can help you, and accessibility in general can help you too. For example, video captions don't just help people with hearing impairments. They also help people who watches videos with the sound off. So there are many instances, for example, when some of us who have young children and they're sleeping next to us, we don't want to wake them up. but we still want to watch some movie or some episode that we have missed out on. So we refer to those captions with sound off. Or if the movie or the video is in a language which I don't understand, then also such captions can be helpful. Another aspect of accessibility is it definitely adds value to your product. So through the understanding of accessibility, you can make yourself also very valuable in terms of getting hired in the industry. I'm sure you are aware that just an understanding of basic skill sets around development, etc., is not something that the industry is just appreciating. Right? So if you have that understanding of human-centered aspects, the business aspect, the legal aspect of accessibility, and how a product can be or brand can be protected against those legal compliance related issues, those resumes are much in demand in the industry. So accessibility isn't just good for people with disabilities. It's a great deal for business as well. So we will also try to understand the economic aspects and how and why it can add value, not just to the product, but also to the parent companies. You can also learn how to demonstrate the ROI or return on investment of accessibility, because it is commonly understood that accessibility is something which is we can later add on to our design. So initially a product is designed for an able user, right? So this is something which is called an ableist thinking, and we will try to understand how such biases affect our design decision, and in return excludes a certain population who can, from a business perspective, be prospective customers, and we are missing out on tapping them. Right? So this aspect of the economics of it, the return on investment part of accessibility, and why we should be thinking about it to begin with and not just as an afterthought or a plug-in, is something also of very important and much relevance in today's day and age, because not just the government but the industry is also recognizing the value of accessibility. In many parts of the world, it is mandatory that the industry, the companies have to comply with accessibility guidelines, and much more so in India also. It is becoming more and more rigid in terms of mandating compliance around digital accessibility in digital products. We will, of course, discuss in detail about those legal compliances, but this definitely can be one of the reasons to understand why accessibility is important and it matters in your design decisions. So design for accessibility not just does include disability, but also creates smoother experiences for users, and they will love your product even more. It also helps brands and companies gain credibility with the customer base, the users. So unlike tools that come and go, accessibility skills are timeless. So from the perspective of a designer, from the perspective of a working professional who works probably in the development related sector or product development related sector, it is an important and timeless skill. Tools, it's not entirely tool dependent. There are several methodologies and frameworks which tweaks your thought process also eventually and makes you sensitive towards user needs and user challenges to begin with. Right? So designing for humans never goes out of style, and this thought process and learning how to think about humans first, and then maybe understanding which tools are needed and then learning that, is something which will kind of future-proof your career as well. I'm sure you are familiar with AI and AI-related tools now not needing a lot of human support in particularly development related or just skill set related aspects. But one thing which even like machines and computers and AI is not able to do, and in the near future it will still not be able to do, is understand humans, understand the complexity of human emotion, understand the complexity of human needs, the socio-economic fabric or the contextual aspects of human needs. So it is very important that we as human designers, human developers, we as humans understand other human beings and empathize with their needs in a way that a machine cannot do. And then we can, of course, use such tools in order to develop or polish or something. But to begin with, understanding the needs, catering to those needs, and the various aspects of human behavior is something which the nuanced aspect of it is likely that human beings can understand. And this course and accessibility frameworks can help you develop that thought process. So you will be able to gain confidence and credibility to implement web content accessibility guidelines, which is like WCAG, and there are several ready-to-use accessibility screener, etc., so which are accessibility evaluation tools. That also you will. So, and it is again, I would reiterate the fact that this despite the background that you come from, whatever technical degree you come from, the instinctive aspect of being a human being and designing for a human being is something that nobody can strip you off, right? So you don't need a specific background in order to gain a deep understanding how design impacts usability for everyone. And understanding other users' needs through interviews with accessibility specialists, etc. That all of those processes also can help you understand why accessibility is something that can not only add value to the product, but also add value to your personality, your thought process, and your resume. So the idea is that we are aiming to create products which have improved usability for everyone. So we will now try to understand which are the key reasons about accessibility that makes it so important. It matters because it fosters equality and inclusivity. It enables people with disabilities to fully participate in the society by removing barriers to information, services, and products. So we will try to now understand why accessibility matters, not just in design, but also in product development, and how it can foster equality and a sense of inclusivity in the society as well. So it primarily matters because it fosters equality. It enables people with disabilities to fully participate in the society by removing barriers to information, services, and products. It also improves user experiences, broadens the product's audience, aligns with legal and ethical responsibilities, and by designing inclusively, we can create more equitable environments for all users and benefit society as a whole. So in this regard, I had showed a very interesting image earlier in the first lecture. I would like to revisit, since we are discussing how inclusion and accessibility can foster equality. So in this image, I'm sure you can see that there are different kinds of people who would like to access the football match. They are of different heights, and in this case, the user is unable to access the match itself. Of course, this is also exclusion and inequality because it is exclusion. Not all kinds of people are able to watch it. And if we give the same product to each one of them without understanding their specific needs, we designed a product, we gave the same one to each one of them, assuming that, okay, we will be equal in our approach, but still it is unequal because all of them are not able to access the information or the match. So it is also exclusion as well as inequality. Now we think about an afterthought accommodation, like, okay, we can develop, particularly pertaining to this user, let's build a specific product, and okay, then we realize, okay, maybe this person doesn't need, so let's take it from him and design a tailored product for this person. So, and then in this case, what is happening is that, okay, now all kinds of users are probably able to access the match, but they are unable to still experience equality because they're all using different kinds of interventions. They are all using different kinds of products. Right? So that is something which is also inequality. Then if we rethink the problem to begin with and do not think of accessibility as an afterthought, but rather an aspect of the problem itself, that, okay, probably different kinds of people will come to watch the match, then how do we enable everyone, different kinds of people, to see the match? Then something like this can also come up as a solution. Here it is not just inclusion, but it is also equality, because all are able to view the match and all are benefiting from the same product. Right? So this is how accessibility fosters equality. Let us now try to understand the key reasons about why accessibility matters. So it definitely promotes equality and inclusion, as we discussed. Accessibility ensures that people with disabilities have the same opportunity to access and use information and products that everyone else is using, and thus this prevents exclusion and discrimination as well. So the idea of accessibility is not just providing the access, but also about making all kinds of humans feel included in the society. So these terms that, okay, mainstream people or normal people and disabled people is something which is not in the dictionary of accessibility frameworks. So we are not saying that XYZ is disabled, so we have to create something special for them. But rather we are saying that all people are different and we have to look at the problem in such a way that we are able to accommodate as many kinds of people as possible. So I hope you understand the nuanced difference between the two. If you're not yet, we will definitely make sure that you do during the course. The second relevant reason can be that it allows you to expand your audience, right? So we are trying to make the products and services accessible and open them to a wider range of users, including people with various types of disabilities, either visual, auditory, physical, cognitive. Cognitive means relating to understanding. So disabilities like dyslexia or ADHD can come under the category of cognitive disabilities, or those with temporary or situational limitations. So these are aspects which we will understand in the next lecture when we will try to see about various aspects of disability and what it means in today's definition. The third most important reason is that it enhances user experience for everyone. So features which are designed for accessibility, such as closed caption, which we discussed, legible fonts, and high contrast modes improve usability and satisfaction for all users and not just those with disability. So for example, if we talk about high contrast mode, one may think that, okay, it is probably only useful for low vision people. But think about situations when you would like to access your phone in broad daylight. You are out in the sun, sitting in a park, unable to see icons on your screen. That means you are blinded by the sun for that duration, and probably a high contrast mode is something which can help you in that situation. So as we've discussed, accessibility not just includes people who have limited abilities, but also enhances experience for everyone. So another important reason is it fulfills legal and ethical obligations of the company or the product. In many places around the globe, there are laws which require accessibility, especially for digital content and platforms. Adhering to these laws and compliance demonstrates social responsibility as well as a sensitivity towards inclusion and equality. The next reason can be that it boosts innovation and allows for better design. So, designing for accessibility encourages more thoughtful, user-centered design, which often leads to more intuitive and user-friendly products, which have a broader audience. It increases independence and participation by removing obstacles. Accessibility empowers individuals with disabilities as well as without disabilities to access information and products and services independently without anybody's help, right? Allowing them to fully participate in the society and contribute in a positive manner, add positive value. So the aspects of self-worth is also associated with what value one can provide or add to the society. So this not only enhances user experience, enables or fosters equality, promotes self-worth, and thus it also adds value to a person's positive mental well-being. So if you understand this, all of this is positively correlated with each other. It definitely aims to improve the overall user base. When you cater to a wider set or diverse needs, that would definitely lead to a product which engages wider audience, has a greater reach, and has a stronger connection with the customers. So in the end, we are trying to say that, okay, accessibility, definitely there are all of these aspects of why it matters, but eventually understanding and designing for access will definitely lead to making the world a better place. The understanding of the framework definitely revolves around accepting that diversity is the norm. There is nothing like normal, mainstream, or people who are disabled and who cannot do this, who cannot do that. Rather than that, as designers, as developers, as engineers, if we start believing and thinking that, okay, all people are different, there is a diverse range of needs which are required to access this so and so product which I am designing for these people. There are diverse range of abilities which they can function with. So assuming that a person who can see will be able to see in all situations and at all times is something which is called an ableist thinking, which we will talk about in the next lecture, and how we can shy away from that. Right? And there may be situations, there may be circumstances in which assumingly able people are also not able to interact with the technology in the assumed way. So then in that case, when our product caters to a diverse need, then they will probably be able to access and interact with the product even when all their senses or all their abilities are not working to the full capacity. So in this framework, we're also celebrating human differences. There can be, of course, physical differences, sensorial differences, there can be language differences, there can be age-related differences, gender-related differences, other societal-related aspects which can cause hindrance. So understanding accessibility as a means to remove barriers can also enable you to look at the world and the society and design itself from a new lens. So eventually, we are trying to design a world which is fit for most people, if not all. And adaptable design is also sustainable, right? So for a company, having the reassurance that okay, so and so product will be accepted and will be used by users for a longer duration is something they would definitely appreciate from an economic perspective as well. This will definitely induce a shift in our mindset, our methods and behaviors as designers, as engineers, as future developers and creators and innovators. It is essential that we understand these aspects related to user experience and accessibility and induce that shift in our mindset. So to summarize, in this lecture, we discussed how accessibility can benefit the industry as well as a person who is a designer or a engineer, etc. We tried to discuss why accessibility matters, what are the key reasons for it. In the next session, we will discuss about understanding disability and the impact of poor access on interaction. Thank you. Stay tuned.